In a world in crisis, can three idiots find hope in the darkest of places? Will love conquer all, or will hate win out in the end? This is a show called Hate.
Well, hello, and welcome to A Show Called Hate, a podcast in which we explore love, hate, and everything in between in search of greater meaning and perhaps a little perspective. I'm John.
I'm Nick.
I'm Chris.
Oh, and we're coming at you live.
Whether you like it or not.
Straight into your ears, against your will. That's A Show Called Hate.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's our new strap.
Oh, God. I wish it wasn't, but we can't take it back now.
Well, it's been it's day 300 and something. I don't
300
know.
and XDX.
It's the 310th of June.
Isn't it weird how, like, I think at one point it was like, okay, at one point it was scary. It was like, okay, we're going into lockdown. And it's like, we're here for you. You know, us and other content creators out there, we're going to really just double down and make it great. Like,
Yeah.
We've got your back. And
If anything, people are getting too much service, I would say.
I feel like it's the new normal now. And so, like, when we say, like, hey, you know, we're here for you, we're still making content, everyone's like, well, I fucking hope so.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, like, you know, the bins aren't going to empty themselves. Like, you got to just keep on it. And
yeah,
well, that's one of my only jobs.
What, empty the bin?
That I'm still regularly doing when I'm prompted. Anyway,
when you're reminded,
just let
please
it
do
over.
the bins. Oh, for God's sake!
It really does feel like, I reckon, like the last 2 weeks, like I don't know, it's like we've passed a threshold somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it was scary, it was exciting, it was boring, and now it's just kind of.
It's like it's this multi-stage thing, isn't it? And the first stage is like anger, and then the next stage is fear, and then the next stage is boredom, and now it's like acceptance. I honestly think, like, just as we're getting to a point that maybe things are going to get alleviated, is at the point where I've been like, actually, I'm used to this now.
Yeah,
I
can't not do this anymore.
Yeah, I'm quite honestly terrified about my ability to cope with re-entering normal society.
Surely we're going to have to ease into it.
Yeah, but I think it's less an issue of me being worried about it and more an issue that I just won't do it. Like, my natural state won't be, oh, we could go out into town or we could go have a meal. My natural state will be, must stay inside, protect the NHS, be alert, you know.
Stay alert, don't stay alert.
Stay alert, don't stay alert. Go outdoors, don't go outdoors.
Try being a bit alert, but only a little, but
be
not too much.
Slightly alert unless you don't want to be, but even then be a bit alert, but not really, in a way.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to be or can't, still try to be.
And then
but
something may
feel
or
you
may
have
not
to,
happen.
But do.
And it's like, what is it, like zoos are reopening?
Thank God. Thank God. I have been
Specifically
sitting here
zoos?
pining for the zoo.
That is so, like, I have been craving the penguin exhibit like a crazy person.
It's like zoos and safari parks, but not petting zoos, and
Okay, good, yeah.
and garden centres with an aquarium in them, but not aquariums are now open.
Have you ever reached for the same guinea pig as someone else at a petting zoo and thought,
That's
oh
a fate
no,
worse than death.
the virus?
Well,
A guinea pig is basically a sponge. It's like if you
For
were
viruses.
wiping down a bar and there's
Yeah.
like this one rag. It's like I would rather lick that rag than touch a guinea pig. That's how
Absolutely.
disease-ridden.
how
Yeah.
much skinnier would a guinea pig be if you shaved it?
It'd be a skinny pig.
How
I
fluffy
reckon-
are they?
I reckon it would be like a worm.
Okay,
I've seen
I buy that.
because they are a delicacy in certain countries. Like I've seen
really?
a cooked guinea pig.
I bet it's small, like a chicken nugget or something.
Yeah.
I seem to remember it had like a horrible. I don't think
Cranium.
I don't think when you've plucked a guinea pig or shaved it and cooked it, it's
It's probably all bones.
Well, I don't think it was
though.
particularly happy about
It's
it.
probably all bones by the time you've cooked it and eaten it. It's probably like a bit of
Yeah.
gristle.
I think the soft, cuddly nature of them is the hair entirely.
I feel like the smart guinea pig eater kind of keeps the fur like a bib. Like, you know,
Right.
if it's cooked correctly, it comes to you with its fur on.
Right.
And you just kind of like peel it off in one piece.
Wow.
And like,
Would you rather have to eat one of every animal, like every animal, or have to collect taxidermy one of every animal?
I've got so many questions. Like, how quickly do I have to eat all the animals? Is it in a day?
Well, you get this. No, you get. Let's say.
are they pre-cooked?
for every animal? No, you have to cook them.
Do you have to kill 'em?
Stuff them. You have to kill them, stuff, and or cook them.
You have to kill them barehanded. You have to wrestle them to the ground.
And you can't hide them in the loft. They have to be on display.
So what you're basically saying is the
Right.
first two steps in each scenario are exactly the same.
Yeah, fight and kill.
Yeah. But then what do you do after that?
Eat or stuff.
Well,
Eat or stuff.
Hashtag eat or stuff.
That's a good name for a game show. Someone write that down.
do you have to
Or we keep that for our next bit of merch because this is gold.
do you
Eat or stuff.
do you have to consume the entire animal, or can you just have a portion?
No, you have to eat all of its meat.
All of its. I mean, like for example, a horse.
You don't
could
have to
last a
eat
week.
its bones, but you can if you would like to.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for the option, though. That's great.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So back on the taxidermy option. Do we have to store them in the house?
Like in the front room, yeah. They have to be on display. So it's like one of the first things people see when they come to your house.
But all
Every
the animals
animal.
in the world. I mean,
Yeah,
that's...
one of every animal, and you have to stuff it yourself
do you think
and do whatever
I
taxidermists
think I'd probably eat them.
do you think this is the exact same question that God put to Noah?
You can either save them.
You can
eat
you can
them,
either save or stuff.
save or stuff. That's your options, Noah.
No. It was exactly he said you can either eat them or you can stuff them.
Eat or stuff, and he saved them in
Eat
a
or
boat,
stuff.
which actually really angered God because he was like, "This was not an option."
This, yeah. I said save or stuff.
I said,
save.
eat or stuff, and you've saved them. You.
No,
shit.
Homer. I told you to say your pumpkins before Halloween. Before.
I mean, my concern would be I'd be like, well, there's many issues here, most of them
Yeah.
logistical, but
Yeah, most of them are.
like, what's your definition of animal? Do you mean every living creature?
That's a weird question.
Does an insect come into this, for example?
Yeah.
Do I have to stuff an ant?
But then and I would say eating an insect would be much easier than stuffing an insect.
It's not. I mean, yeah. Well,
I mean, I
this
guess.
is why we want to know. We want clarity. We want clarity.
This changes.
one of every animal. How many times do I have to say it?
So you're
Maybe a
saying
few more times.
of the kingdom Animalia, so everything that is not like a bacteria.
And I'm including a human in this as well.
Okay.
Oh, good God.
The deadliest
Okay.
game.
You have to choose. You have to choose one human because you only have to eat one human.
It's like that graphic on The Simpsons where it's the food chain and all the arrows point to a human.
I mean, following this logic, you'd only have to pick and eat one human being. So it's kind of choosing: is
Yeah.
it someone important to you or someone utterly unimportant?
It's which of your enemies would you rather either eat or have in your front room?
Yes, I see. Wow.
I'm silent
Well,
because I'm genuinely considering.
Yes,
I
it's a
definitely.
good it's one of life's big questions.
Can
now.
you decide? Can you determine the order that you
Yes.
tackle the animals in?
You can decide in what order you do this. Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think.
I'm not unreasonable, John.
I definitely think that cooking and eating an animal, no matter what the animal is considerably less horrific than learning to stuff its corpse with stuff and preserve it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you see that.
but some people have chosen to do that.
Yeah, but those people are very
They're out
far
there.
from me mentally, I believe.
Yes, hope so.
But Nick raises an interesting point as well, because there are probably, if you're classing everything that isn't a mushroom or a plant, then it's like or a bacteria or a
Virus.
archaea, the other type or whatever it is. Like, so you've got your natural human lifespan, your remaining time on Earth. Bear in mind,
It can't be done.
You can.
I'm speaking for
You
all
don't
of us
think-
now. We've all wasted
How many
33
animals
years of our
would
life.
you have to kill? How many animals would you have to kill per annum?
It's probably millions.
Even
Well, all right.
yeah.
I mean,
probably.
I've made a start because I've got a few in the loft, but
How
What if
long
you could-
would it take to eat like a lion?
I reckon a lion could
Roughly.
last you a week if
see-
you preserve the meat
Yeah.
well.
But this is the problem. If you've got enough meat from a lion to last you a week, and you have to consume everything edible on that animal, that's a week's worth of meals you're missing out on. That could be
Not
other
not
animals.
if you have it.
Yeah.
Not if you have it for every meal.
I reckon so.
If you eat 3 times a day, big meals, 3 times a day, and snack during the day.
It's all lion.
Like let's say you have 2 snacking sessions, so that's 5 portions of lion
Okay.
per day. That's whatever the sum is, 35 portions of lion in a week. I reckon you could eat a lion in 35.
Okay.
Think how big a steak is, though. That's like fuck all to a lion's overall volume.
I mean, I won't lie to you. You will put on weight if you undertake this challenge.
it's not a diet.
You're worried about, like, how am I going to realistically portion out this food? I'm talking about the time lost. I mean, like,
Yeah.
to be truly
Yeah.
efficient.
Oh
here.
yeah, it will. You'll look back on your life either option and just think, "Oh, I've wasted my life here."
Well, yeah,
I mean,
because
it would
you won't even finish the task. It'll be impossible.
It'll be a full time commitment because
Yeah.
you need to have the next animal lined up immediately after you finish the first one. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah, I'd
wasting
say so.
time. So in the rest of the time that you're not eating, you're out there fighting hand to hand with animals.
Yeah, but that's how you keep fit because you're eating a lot of red meat.
I'm just saying there aren't enough hours in the day. Like, if it were like a taster menu, if all you've got to do
Introducing-
is slay and then fry up a little Susan and have like a little
No,
that's
there's
nice.
no point. There's no point doing a little bit of the animal. Otherwise, why would you bother killing it?
What a waste of a death.
Can you
Yeah.
portion out the life debt you've taken on here? Can you share the burden among your descendants? Because I feel they're always discovering new creatures.
So what you would leave them a list in your will, let's say.
Yeah, and then
of all
every
the animals
generation-
you were yet to eat or stuff.
Every generation, they tick off a little bit. And
Yeah,
finally,
sounds-
when your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchild
Yeah.
finishes this ordeal, your soul and the soul of each of your children will finally be allowed into heaven because you completed Gog's task.
Yeah,
I mean,
all right then.
it does sound
That sounds fine. Yeah.
it sounds a little bit like a curse.
Hmm.
I think,
Yeah, it's a bit like a curse. Yeah.
but
No, I think that's acceptable in
If
the
it's-
context of the what if game.
if it's worth doing,
I
let's
feel
get it
both,
done.
I feel both options are indeed probably the literal definition of a curse. They are both what you are describing is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only thing that makes eating
that was the idea of the game.
Yeah, but the only thing that makes eating it the preferable option is that, well, you get to try new and varied foods. That's
Yeah.
something. And also,
You get to eat frog.
you're not going to have an exponentially growing stack of dead animals kind of staring at you.
Exactly.
And Nick, and I think Nick touched on this earlier, you've got to probably spend 10 years of your life before you even get started learning the artful craft of taxidermy.
Yeah. How is it that animals don't waste away once they've been stuffed?
Because
Well,
I
I
don't
think
think there's
there's-
anything...
I think there's more to it than just stuffing them, from what I understand. There's some
okay.
preservation.
Well, there you go then. Well, that would take you some time to learn, I would imagine.
I imagine it would. I've seen.
Whereas if you just started killing and eating, you could get the job done much faster.
Well, I believe...
or you die.
or you die trying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think you might just as easily die on the toilet, because if you're going to be eating nothing but meat the rest of your natural lifespan, I mean,
And some potential poisonous meats in there as well. Good.
I should stress you don't have to just eat the animals.
Yeah, but I mean,
You probably would have to in order to get it done.
I think
but
that's the case. Yeah,
you
unless
don't have to.
you're passing on this debt.
but
like,
you can't
happily.
fill up on bread. For God's sake, the only way you're going to be released from this curse is to eat animal.
It's like if you went to a harvester and then you just got stuff from
Don't
like
get
the
stuff from the salad
pasta
bar.
wagon, salad bar, not the pasta wagon.
I mean, if you and your friends went out for a meal, you'd have to bring a little lunchbox of zebra along, wouldn't you? Because
Yeah.
that's where you were in your diet at that point.
But that to me sounds great.
does it?
Like a zebra steak.
Yeah.
I could sure go for a zebra steak right now.
Yeah, that's day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
sounds great.
day
Where
one.
would I find a zebra around here?
That's another. Well, the zoos are opening, so there's that.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's how we got onto this, isn't it? That's right.
Oh my god! But it's like, oh, can you imagine? Can I just take a side? The panda, right? I think the panda might be my first one that I would.
You
track
hate the
down.
panda.
Delicious panda.
You
I hate the
that
panda because the panda is nature's joke. Like it's an absolute travesty because like I know, admittedly, humans have not been kind to the panda. We're destroying a lot of its environment. The panda itself is not doing itself any favors because it's a carnivore eating the least nutritious food substance on the planet. It's like it's trapped evolutionarily between being a bear, which eats other
Human
animals,
flesh.
berries, children who get lost on school trips, and a sheep. Like it's stuck halfway in the middle. So
Why is it that the panda didn't move when there was no meat left? Was it just lazy?
yeah, that's basically, they don't really tell you this until you finally graduate. But if you
A
learn,
panda
It's just
school.
lazy. Just lazy.
yeah.
Which would make it easy to kill.
Oh, I think it'd be very easy to kill.
And
I
then
think it
eat
wouldn't
more
be
stuff.
easy to kill because I think you'd run at it with your harpoon or however you kill a panda, and you'd be like, "No, it's so cute though," and that's its natural defense. That's the only thing that's kept it alive.
Would a panda rip my face off if I attacked it, or would it not be that bothered?
That's a
Is
really-
it like a normal bear?
Can they turn violent?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the question I'm really asking. Yeah.
The thing about the thing about a panda, which I think is worth knowing, is that because they eat essentially cardboard, because bamboo is essentially like just chewing on drywall, you're not
Furniture.
getting anything out of it. They have to eat. I think it's like 18 hours a day, or they'll die.
God.
Yeah.
Like they have to constantly be eating, and then
See, they would be good at stuff or eat. wouldn't
yeah, but they wouldn't accomplish anything else. If you could just put the food in front of them.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to hunt.
So it's like they spend like 3/4 of a day, say, eating. If they don't constantly eat this horrible food, they will die. They then they got to sleep. They spend like an hour shitting. So a panda does not have a lot of free time. So then bear in mind that a panda only becomes fertile every like 12 years.
Oh my god.
And then,
Why every 12 years?
I don't know, just because they're not especially horny.
Their cycle.
Yeah. So once every 12 years for about 2 days, they feel, ooh, yeah.
I could go for some.
Yeah, I could go for a bit of, panda child making, baby making. Gonna go make a panda baby.
Hopefully.
So then in those 2 days, every 12 years, where bear in mind, they still have to eat.
Bear in mind.
They still have to
Ah.
eat for 3/4 of that day. They've still
Great.
got to shit for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And they've got to sleep. They have to find a mate and hopefully have a
Yeah.
child.
I mean, I'm exhausted just listening to you talk about it. To be honest, John.
God knows how the listeners are feeling.
Yeah.
Well, shall we get on with the show?
Oh yeah.
I suppose so.
That was just us having a chat.
Anyway,
It was.
who has a hate?
I do.
Oh, look, Chris has. Chris has got a
Ryan.
hate.
I've got
everyone.
one.
Everyone.
Well, it sort of relates to what we were just talking about, which is why I steered the conversation to eat or stuff.
Oh.
Right.
So my hate is sort of related to lockdown, and I know we tried to veer away from this, but
I think it's okay
It's got
now.
on top of me. It's got on top of me now. My hate is people tweeting the Cineworld Twitter account saying how much they can't wait to get back to the cinema. I mean, Jesus Christ! You've been sitting in a room for 3 months watching movies,
Yeah.
and the thing you can't wait for above anything else is going to sit in a room and watch movies.
To be fair, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Get a life.
I can't wait to get.
But why? But why? What's the difference between that and going to the cinema? What you're doing now,
About £20
in the
per
comfort
head.
of your own home,
Yeah, it costs a lot more.
eh? Yeah, it costs a lot more.
Yeah.
You have to walk to get there.
Yeah, might get wet.
And
It's
there's
raining.
other people there.
There's other
being a
people.
Pain in the
The
arse.
chairs aren't as comfortable as the chairs in my house.
I would say the only thing the cinema's got going for it above my house or anyone's house,
Your house is amazing.
is the sound quality.
Yeah, and then maybe the size
And
of the screen
and if I turn the telly up real loud and don't care about the neighbours, then I'll be fine.
or your speakers. Yeah.
And if you're very
or I get
lucky,
speakers.
if you're very lucky at our local cinema, which I think just spent a few £1 million on a massive upgrade,
Literally
literally like
just before.
mid-February.
Good timing. Good timing.
But yeah, you mentioned sound quality. If you go to our local cinema, if you're very lucky, you'll be able to hear the IMAX from next door shaking the screws out of your chair.
It's not so much that you hear it, but you're just sort of internally you're aware of it, like in a horrifying sort of way.
I just can't fathom that would be the first thing you'd want to do.
It's definitely
when
not.
You're let out.
It's definitely not the first thing I'd want to do.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
But people are just, I can't wait to get to the cinema. Why? There's so much stuff to watch. There's so much stuff to watch.
Maybe these people haven't heard of Netflix.
Do you think?
Well,
do you think? Do you think?
And yet they are tweeting Cineworld.
That maybe this whole lockdown thing has exposed the myth that is the cinema, and that now we've gone this long without thinking about it, without being able to go, that now we're all like, what did we need it for? Actually, what was it for?
Yeah.
Because
I can't think of any movie now or in the future where I will be desperate to go to the cinema to watch it.
I mean, the thing is that before all of this, I did really enjoy going to the cinema.
Yes.
Like we would all go for those landmark tentpole films, wouldn't we? Go for the Marvel films, Sonic the Hedgehog, significant cinematic experience.
Yeah, very, very significant.
Getting a sequel, by the way, just so you all know.
That is, I read that.
Just,
yeah.
So that's
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that.
That's probably for another episode, maybe. But
I mean, this could be a really long episode if we get into
really,
that.
really long. So let's not do that. But we should do an episode where we predict the sequel. I think. Let's make these movies the DNA of our show. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did enjoy going. There's a social aspect to it, I guess.
Thing is, we've all realised we can socialise without actually having to be anywhere.
We have big time, yes.
As a society.
Yes.
Massively.
Although, having said that, it was nice to see everyone the other day in the garden. In the garden.
Would have been great if we'd gone to see a movie.
Well, would it?
It was, yeah. I'm. Yeah, it's weird in a way because I kind of I agree with both of you. Like, I agree with you, Rev, that it has exposed just how bizarre this all is. But like Nick, I did enjoy going to the cinema. But I think that's saying that now is kind of like admitting you've got a drinking problem. Like it's it's a realization.
I think I felt that way at the time though as well. Like I will acknowledge that going to the cinema is kind of a waste of money in a way. Like I go for the story and I go for like what I can see happening, obviously, and you can get all of that at home. So like
we were paying 15 quid per person to go and watch it.
Here's the hilarious. I applied for and got a Cineworld pass just before lockdown as well.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, they did put that on, like, hiatus in terms of my payments. But, like, just before...
And I appreciate the cinema. I appreciate the cinema in that if you want to go see a big movie like we did, the Marvel movies and Star Wars and whatever, it can be an experience, but I just cannot fathom people saying, "Oh, I literally can't wait to get back to the cinema."
I think you're right. I think the point to take away here is that yes, the cinema's good or whatever, and may or may not be something we go back and do a lot of, but for it to be the biggest, primariest thing you're looking forward to, that's a little strange, maybe.
Probably the thing you've been doing most is what you would do at the cinema if you were to equate the two.
I'll definitely agree with you there.
Maybe like...
Having said that, I can't wait to get to the pub and all I do is drink, so...
it's weird, isn't it? Like maybe 16 years ago, like if this had happened, well, I wouldn't have been tweeting because Twitter wouldn't have existed.
No,
but
true.
like,
God, what a time!
God, can you imagine?
Golden
Twitter didn't
age.
exist.
So one, I wouldn't be tweeting, but yeah, like in an era where going to the cinema costs like £5, I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, like, and there's no Netflix, like. I've got dial-up at home. Like I can't pirate movies on the Napster and all that.
And VHS looks like utter garbage. So let's I also this has brought up something else that I've thought of. Is there's this idea I think that the cinema experience is the purest, truest way to enjoy film, and that anything beyond or outside of the cinema is a pale imitation.
Yeah. I've only ever felt that way about one movie, and that was Dunkirk.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, maybe.
I've only ever felt. I felt like
well.
Dunkirk, like you had to watch at the cinema to fully appreciate.
But then, like,
I
agree with that, and I think it for Gravity as well, which since watching outside of the cinema didn't enjoy as much, and I think both of those though were actually the soundtrack again. Like Dunkirk's soundtrack is incredibly like rumbly and like bassy and surrounding.
Yeah.
And the same is true for Gravity. So it's like that's an experience. And then if you want to watch a movie though, you can watch that anywhere. You can watch it on your phone.
Well, it's like I never saw Avatar at the cinema.
Okay.
And everyone, because it was the first proper 3D movie.
Yeah.
And everyone used to say, "Oh, it's incredible at the cinema." But then I watched it on DVD, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's fine."
I really
Everyone's
enjoyed
like, "Oh,
it.
you've got to watch it. It's
I
incredible."
really
yeah.
enjoyed it at the cinema.
I'm not trying to be that guy who's like too cool. You know, like, oh yeah, no, I didn't. You know, I'm not trying to be hipster about Avatar, but I think I was like that. Like I saw
don't
it
think you can be.
I saw it at the cinema, and I was like, yeah, it's perfectly entertaining. I did not have a religious experience about it, and I think it's been on like, it's maybe been on TV over Christmas like a couple of times, and I bet if I had regular television, it's always playing on like ITV4 or something like that.
Hey, but Avatar 2's coming
Aren't
out.
there like 4 sequels? Yeah, there's a bunch of sequels, and I'm like, I have no desire to see them.
but
It's just. I mean, like he said originally, after the first one, there was going to be like 4 or 5 more or something, and then everything went super quiet for like 100 years, and here we are now, and he's like, I'm doing a sequel, and it's like whether or not he plans to do any more than that is at this point completely irrelevant because who the fuck cares about Avatar anymore? He's just left it way too long.
Yeah, but like
The world's moved on.
Yeah.
whereas the world of Avatar hasn't, because like what stories are there left to tell?
I know, it
Like-
rounds off so like we saw everything that world I thought needed to be shown. I don't think there's any more there. And also, there is one thing though that they've changed significantly, and that's the typeface of the logo. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Because they got blasted massively online because Avatar's just written in papyrus. Which is something that comes with every computer.
Now that I think about it,
So now it has its own identity now. It's got its own typeface, which looks a lot like papyrus.
Did they invent papyrus for the movie?
No, papyrus had already been around. That's what makes it even more of a sin.
that would not be allowed to happen now.
No one would ever do a film logo in an existing font that everyone had on their computer, I don't think, now. No.
Yeah.
It's mad that they did it then.
Yeah,
though.
like Arial Narrow.
It's just weird.
Hey, civilizations have been built on Arial Narrow.
Where would we be without Ariel is our rudder in these crazy waters?
I never stop using the font that I found called Funky Bunny now.
That's a shame, probably.
I love that. Love that font. I use it for all my quizzes.
Good. I guess.
Bear in
that's
mind who
great.
you're talking to. Nick is like king of the fonts.
Well,
Yeah.
A font of knowledge, you might say.
maybe
Oh.
a deputy king of the fonts, but yes, a font of knowledge.
So in summary, Your Honour, if the first thing you want to do is go to the cinema when you're out of lockdown, you need to take a long, hard look at yourself.
Yeah.
And then come see me in the pub,
Well, I'll be drinking.
I mean, like,
where I will be drinking, not at home.
you'll be drinking and watching Star Wars on your phone.
On your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a ton of like really amazing experiences at the cinema. Like I think
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog. The 10 times I watched it again when you guys weren't around.
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers. Yeah,
That was fun.
That was a good
Yeah,
experience.
enjoyed
but
that.
like the first time I saw the Avengers, like
Yeah.
first time I saw the Dark Knight, these were great experiences. I was drunk for both of them.
Yeah. We were in Canada.
We were,
when
yeah,
watched
we were
Dark
wasted,
Knight.
yeah. Inception, that was also a great, like,
Yeah.
tons of amazing experiences, but like, you can't go back, and it's really not the same anymore. And it's like, I still enjoy it, but it's incredibly pricey. It really
Do you think,
is.
though, do you think a lot of what it was that you loved about those films was because it was the first time you were seeing them? And
Yeah.
potentially, if the first time had been at home, you would have had just as much of a positive experience because it wasn't how you saw the film, it was the film itself.
Yeah, and I think in
It's very
the
profound.
days where tickets were a little cheaper,
Yeah.
like, because I think
You got to ask yourself: is it £15 better than if you were watching it at home? And there are some films where the answer is yes, but I don't think they're very regular.
Like, for example, Gremlins in 4DX, which I saw and nearly made me throw up.
there you go.
what why? Because your chair was it like a moving chair
Have you-
kind of thing?
Yeah, have you done 4DX before?
No.
It's fucking weird, right? So what I thought it was going to be was there would be like water in the scene, so like a splash of water, and they splash a bit of water on your face. Or for example, there's a car crash or a car hits something and your seat shakes. That's what I thought it would be. And it is all of those things, but there's this additional thing where, because films have a lot of time in between the sort of significant moments where stuff happens, what they have to fill your experience there as well. So what they think you need is whenever the camera pans, say from left to right, your seat sort of sways as though you are the camera panning across the shot, which is simultaneously incredibly unimmersive, completely takes you out of the shot, because of course the characters aren't panning, it's the camera that's panning. So that just makes me instantly aware that there's a camera in this scene. And secondly, it makes me feel sick. So it wasn't fun. Like the other bit, there's a great scene in Gremlins, you might remember it, where the mum comes home into the kitchen and they're all everywhere, sort of hiding in various places in the kitchen, and she ends up killing one with a mixer, I think it is, or something. Classic. Green slime everywhere. But there's these really cool little cuts where a gremlin will like skitter out of a cupboard across the floor, or like run across the top of the cupboards or something. And whenever those skittery moments happened, something under my chair at my ankles flicked the backs of my shoes. So it was like a rat had just run along behind my feet. That was actually really good. Like that worked for me in terms of immersion. But the gliding seat panning around the scene is just fucking weird. That's just so weird.
But surely,
and I haven't been back.
That's like the extension of, 3D, like wearing goggles and all that, which for me was always just the biggest gimmick. Because it's like, I get it. Like, I understand that if I'm watching a moving image on a 2D, on a flat screen, I understand how reality works. I can see an image. I can understand that when Keanu Reeves is a small figure in the background, it's because he's far away. I get that. I understand how perception works.
Small, far away.
Yeah, I don't. It's like I don't. It's like
I don't like
gimmicks.
3D films either, to be honest.
No.
It's like when I first watched a football match in 3D, they made this massive song and dance about it. Everyone went to the pub to check it out, and I've got my 3D glasses, I've got a good seat, and it was shit. I was like, I'd prefer to watch 2D second half.
Yeah.
That kind of came and went, didn't it? Do you reckon there's a ton of people who bought 3D TVs for home?
My dad
Probably. There you go.
Does he get the full use out of it?
This is what's hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious because I kind of feel a bit sorry for him, but like, my dad bought it because he bought it right at the beginning as well, so like potentially the worst time to buy it. Talk about early adopter. And Sky and the BBC were just rolling out their Sky 3D and BBC HD 3D channels, which were specifically for this content. And they've both dropped those channels, and they dropped them about a year after their launch. And Dad's there is no broadcast TV now that is in 3D. So, because they were the only two that were really offering anything significant. So that's it. Like, he's got a handful of 3D films, but you can barely get hold of those now either. So that's it. That's fucking it.
Money well spent.
I mean, it's a good enough TV without the 3D-ness, but it's just, it's died.
Yeah, I do feel a little sorry for him, but there's maybe a lesson there somewhere.
The thing is that even from the beginning, like the first 3D thing I ever watched, I think, was Alice in Wonderland, the Tim Burton film, at the cinema in 3D, and I was like, all right, yep, that was definitely 3D, I guess,
in a way.
I don't want this in my house. Even my 3DS, my handheld console that has 3D, 3D is always off, just always off.
Yeah, because it only works if you're
in a
absolutely dead center.
If you like tilt it a millimeter away from your eye line, it all goes blurry. So that's cool. So that's great.
I'll tell you what though, the one thing that cinema has going for it is when I'm at home, sitting comfortably on my sofa, and I've got a drink, I've got some food, watching a great movie, good company. It's wonderful. I don't have some asshole sweating and talking in the row in front of me.
There's pros and cons to the cinema.
That's one thing I'm missing out on.
There's pros and cons to the cinema, and spending 15 quid to do something that's got both pros and cons that you could do at home seems pointless.
I agree.
I I remember. I can't even remember what movie I was watching. I have a feeling it may have been one of the Star Wars or one of the Marvel movies. I think it was like a early afternoon showing or something. I just remember, like, I assume they were a unit or like a family, but
A unit.
these three people came in and sat in like the row in front of us. They were late into the movie. I'm like, oh, that's fine, you know. And the guy was just kind of sitting there, and he was just, I swear, he was just like kind of sweat was just pouring off him in buckets, like absolute buckets, as if he'd run a marathon, but he just kind of like casually strolled in. So he's just sitting there sweating and sighing. Like, it's like none of them are enjoying the movie. They all just look absolutely miserable. And it's like, just making like all these noises. And then they leave. And I'm like, okay, I guess they're gone. And then they come back and they've all got like a drink. And I'm like, okay, they've bought themselves a drink. That's nice, you know. And they just sit there and they're kind of like checking their phones, talking to each other, drinking their drink, just sighing. And then I think like there's maybe like 5 minutes to go. Like clearly the movie is very nearly over. And they just go like, look at their watch and go, do you want to get, should we go? Yeah, let's go. And they just kind of got up and walked out.
That's bizarre. That
Why
to
would
me,
you pay?
Like, if you like, I think I've walked. I'm not even sure I've walked out of one movie, and I think I've come close though, and I think the reason I haven't done is because I've paid, and it's like this could be awful, but I've paid my money, so let's just at least stay to the end. I can't.
I don't know why you would need to leave early.
If it was offending you, I mean,
I don't know why you would pick a showing that would
surely you know what you're going to do. Like,
you know your own
only
schedule.
you do. I can't help you with this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think now. I don't think I've ever walked out of a film.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I ever have. I walked out temporarily of Queen of the Damned because I was shit
That's
scared.
a pretty good reason.
So I walked out to compose myself, and then against every fibre of my being, walked back in. And I hated
really
it.
Sold this one.
You may have lost an hour and a half of your life, but think of the respect you gained of your peers.
True.
Well, think of those people that I don't see anymore that liked me for a little longer.
God, that was a vampire movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it was A, shit, and B, scared the shit out of me initially.
So it was.
And
it was
wasn't
providing
scary.
shit to you, which it then scared out of you. So it was kind of like a chain, like conveyor belt.
It was a bit like a public service.
Good day.
I've got a hate.
Go on then.
Oh, go on then.
I think I hate pirates.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god.
Uh-oh.
I'm so sorry, Nick.
Which are we talking? What sort
Just
of pirates
the general
are we talking?
concept of pirates.
All of them? Are we talking cartoon pirates? Are we talking actual real life
I think
pirates?
if you're a fan of real life pirates, I think you've probably got to.
Yeah, well,
I think we need to have a conversation.
I just wanted to be sure. I just wanted to make sure that I could still claim you as a friend.
I've got to say I hate Pirates of the Caribbean, but I do love those Somali pirates. Like they're doing some good work out there. No, I
love pillaging. Okay.
I don't want to come down too hard on pirates and that noble tradition. I think there's still a little bit of joy to be had there.
Sure.
However, I play when I'm bored, I play a card game on my phone called Hearthstone.
Oh.
And there are lots of cards in that game which claim to be pirates. Don't use them myself. I find them unsavory. But there are a lot of
because of the
it's
pillaging.
like they're pirates. Like they're the most piratey pirates that have ever existed. Like they've got the hats, the peg legs, the hooks, everything. Like the whole shebang. They're like pirate cosplay.
Sure.
And I got a big announcement this morning when I logged in, and it goes, "Hey everyone, big announcement. Pirates have been upgraded to a type of minion. They're a type of. They are a whole class now. You're not just a person who is a pirate. You can now be like, oh, a goblin. Ooh, a wizard. Ooh, a manticore. No, and a pirate. And I just have this moment of realization where I was like, I'm fucking done with pirates. Like they're everywhere. Like, I just think like of everything, every franchise I've enjoyed in my life, every be it superhero, be it fantasy, be it all that nerdy stuff, whatever. There's often a token pirate character, and every time they turn up, I'm just like,
that is true.
Fucking hell,
I'm thinking of Dodgeball at the moment.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Steve the pirate.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the definition of token pirate.
I know that you said, I'm sorry, Nick, and I understand why you said that, because two of my favorite like franchises are One Piece and Skies of Arcadia, both of which are at the core of them essentially pirate stories. But the funny thing is that I don't think either of those stories are like what pirates generally are purveyed to be. Like One Piece is a superhero story, essentially, because it's basically about loads of people in a world that have superpowers. And Skies of Arcadia is about boats that fly through the sky. So it's kind of like not really that connected to... I mean, it is in the sense that there are kind of pirates, but they go to great efforts, both One Piece and Skies of Arcadia, of saying like, pirates are bad. Because they do horrible things like violence and pillaging and other unsavory things. But we're good pirates, which to me is a way of going, we're not really pirates, but we just want to use the label because it puts people in a certain mindset kind of thing. And I think that's the problem, is that these stories are always butting up against this consistent issue of pirates are murderers and rapists.
Yeah.
And they're literally the worst kind of people. But there's also some weird public obsession with the romance of pirates. So if I'm going to tell a story where my character is a hero but a pirate, I'm going to have to make some weird like separation to make it work, and I think that's stupid. So I do agree with you to some extent. I do.
It strikes me that pirates are as far away from their real life counterparts as you could hope to be.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
I can't think of any sort of character or genre that is further away from the real life equivalent as pirates.
I think that's very true.
That is a very wise statement.
Thank you. I thought so.
Yeah.
I think like story pirates, like fantasy fiction pirates, are always these sort of swashbuckling heroes.
Yeah. But where did that come from?
But where the fuck did that come from? Because like even back in the day, which is the era that they're sort of like homaging, they were monsters then. I don't understand.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got like, there's a pirate spectrum where at one end you're like, as you say, like super realistic, where like they all had scurvy, rickets, the raping, pillaging, it's horrible. And they haven't washed in like years. It's just gross.
Yeah.
Other end of the spectrum, I guarantee, I bet if you turned on like Channel Disney or something, there'd be, Petey the Pirate and his wonderful friends, It's like, yaha, we're all going on a cuddly adventure.
Friendship quest.
There's some steps involved, but I don't know how you jump from one to the other.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, two extremes.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the middle, as Nick said, you've got like a franchise trying to walk like a tightrope on like
or a plank
or a plank. Yeah,
I get it.
Why did you say plank?
John doesn't
just one of the lazy stereotypes I've picked up over the many years I've been alive.
Modern life is very disappointing. And modern life is...
What's your point?
Tax returns, 9 to 5, drinking one too many bottles from a fridge each night, even though you tell yourself you're not going to do it. Modern life is mundane. So, if tomorrow a magical portal opened in front of me and some whimsical character popped their head out and said, "John, we need you to come to the magical world of Oshlandia and, join us on
I think you've just made that up, John.
It sounds like you made it up.
Yeah, come to Oshlandia. It'll have an adventure. And like, there's a part of me which would be sorely tempted. I'd be like, my God, since I was a child, I have dreamt this moment. Like I can escape reality.
Sure.
Step through that fucking portal. If I land on a boat and the first thing I see is some whimsical fucking pirate who's maybe got like, I don't know, he's got 2 hooks. He's got a hook on each hand and he's got a hook in each eye. And he goes like, Yar, welcome to the jolly...
Hello.
The jolly thunder. And we're all going on an adventure. And we're going to get the magical dread pirate Smith's skull. I'd be like, nope.
Nope. Where's the portal?
No. This was fun. I'm back home. I'm going.
I'm going now, though.
Where did pirates get a reputation for having an eye patch?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
Because that's the first thing anyone would think of when they think of a pirate.
This is the weird thing, isn't it? Is that pirate has been condensed to shorthand of eye patch, wooden leg, parrot,
stripy jumper,
3-cornered hat,
red bandana.
Yeah, a lot of red and gold, and I don't know, probably a telescope or a hook hand or something.
Has a parrot.
Yeah,
and it's just it's the thing is that like I agree with you on the basis that I'm sick of zombies. It's the same thing.
Yes,
it's like it's just the same thing. I don't care anymore. Like there's no capacity for telling something new inside that genre, or at least nobody's bothering to, for some reason, and I don't know why.
If you break down like the word pirate, doesn't it basically just mean to steal something? Like if you pirate something, you're stealing something.
Yeah, I think it's basically just thief, but of the sea.
Pirate video.
Yeah.
But you have pirate radio, for example, which has nothing to do with boats at all.
So basically, if you just break down the definitions, what you basically mean is it's a thief who lives on a boat. Like that's not magical. That's not exciting. That's not exciting.
It's a scurvy thief.
But then you have
I until more recently than I would care to divulge, I always thought that pirate radio stations were offshore.
I think some are.
I don't know why.
I think some were. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
I feel like that's in my brain for some reason.
I think it's easier if you're offshore because it's easier to not be found, I guess. But yeah. No, like there are some things about some pirate stories that I consume that I like, but I would argue that it's not the pirate parts of those stories that I like. It's not the fact that they are a pirate story that I like them. It's the fact that there are way better other things in there, and that maybe the pirate parts of it I could be a little embarrassed of.
Yeah. I think I never got pirates rather than I'm bored of them now. I don't think I ever got them in the first place.
Fair enough.
Why do they get such special treatment? I feel that ninjas are up there.
Yeah, ninjas are definitely up there. And they're also awful as well. Like, ninjas were like shadow assassins who were generally considered to be dishonourable and monstrous. What the hell? Why are we idolising ninjas and pirates?
There's a chap called Chris Broad who runs a YouTube channel called Abroad in Japan.
I was going to tell this story.
Yeah, he talks about living in Japan, and because he can speak a bit of Japanese, he was working in a school, and they were doing an exercise with the pupils where it was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" So they asked, they said to him, "It's like, so Chris, what did you want?" Obviously in Japanese, but they said, what did you want to be when you were young? And he said, "Well, when I grew up, I desperately wanted to be a pirate." And everyone just looked at him horrified, and we were like, why would you do that? Like they're all like, what? They're all like rapists and murderers. Because like culturally, clearly, the Japanese do not have this romanticized idea of pirates, which we do. So, and also presumably when you translate that into Japanese, you're basically saying, well, when I grow up, I really want to be a sea thief.
I want to be a sea murderer.
Yeah, I just want to like steal other people's crap, basically.
What is weird about that story, though, and I don't know exactly when it happened for him, but I did indeed watch that same episode and found that very funny, is that the 2 pirate stories I do like are both Japanese.
That is true.
One Piece and Sky.
I think there's a common denominator there.
Yeah. But maybe they like those stories and created those stories because they think they're doing some massive like role reversal thing. Because culturally for them, pirates are monsters. So if they do a story about a heroic pirate, for them it's juxtaposition. For us, it's boring because we've just done it fucking thousands of times and we're sick of it.
If I hear anyone go yar, I'm instantly, it's an instant buzzkill.
How do you feel about National Speak Like a Pirate Day?
Yeah. It's a good day.
How do you feel about that?
I think
I
I've
can
made
guess
my
how you feel about it.
yeah. I think I've made my stance quite clear on the matter.
Right, so he likes it. That's cool. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Message received and understood.
But yeah, that's
Cool.
me. That's me.
Fair enough. No,
I'm with you, I think, on that one.
Thank
I'm
you.
sort of 95% with you, aside from the 2 that I like. So, I've got hate.
Oh,
Please.
I hate psychedelia
oh,
and psychedelic imagery.
hello.
I'm just like, in the same way that you're fucking sick of pirates, like, I'm just like, I honestly think psychedelic imagery is always going out of its way to be like weird and different, and it's the most mundane kind of weird I think there is out there. It's like, ooh, imagine a pair of lips that open up and there's a flower inside, and then ooh, like a tube comes out and there's a submarine in it. Ooh! And it's like, fuck off. So it's just so it's like when people just try and be random, you know? It's that like, I'm so random. Oh, cheese. I just said cheese.
We're basically we're slaying all the sacred cows this episode. You know, big
Cinema.
I agree. Yeah, I don't like random for the sake of being random. It's up there when people say, I want to go viral. Oh, God.
Ooh.
I
really want us to go viral. I mean, I'm sure you do, but fucking hell.
That is a crime.
So what brought this to your attention? Why?
Well, I recently watched, and I actually already forgotten what it's called, but I've got it up on my phone just to remember myself. Oh yeah, that's it. I watched a documentary on Netflix a few weeks ago called "Have a Good Trip," and it's a really good documentary. It's about a load of celebrities talking about acid trips that they've had, and kind of like giving you a bit of an insight into what it's kind of actually like, and the difference of what it's actually like and how it's compared in the media. And interestingly, a lot of what they say sort of goes against the idea of psychedelic imagery, because although psychedelic imagery was really popular at the time, the acid was really popular in like the sort of 70s era, 60s, 70s era, it's actually like weirdly nothing like that either as well. And like, but the documentary uses a lot of psychedelic imagery as their sort of like chapters between each of the interviews. And it's a really good doc because like this, it's well-known people like Ben Stiller and Sarah Silverman, people like that, talking really honestly about acid trips, good or bad. And it's really, really interesting to hear them put it into words. Ben Stiller's taken acid once and he hated it, and it was like the worst thing he ever did. I
can't imagine that. I don't know why.
I actually
Ben
thought
Stiller
the
on
opposite.
acid.
Yeah, I thought he'd be someone who'd done shit tons of drugs and stuff. But he's actually just done acid once, and apparently when he was on it, he called his dad. And his dad was, and he said, like, Dad, I really need help. Like, things are really bad right now. And he told him he'd taken some acid, and his dad was like, well, I know what it's like, because I remember when I was a boy, sort of your age, I had my first cigarette. And Ben Stiller was like, at that point, I knew that my dad had no idea what this was like. But yeah, like the documentary itself kind of took the piss out of it, because it, like, a lot of people were saying how much the media basically always gets it wrong when they're trying to depict acid trips and what it's like to be on acid. And then they were showing this psychedelic imagery, which was kind of at odds with everything that people were saying. And I was just like, so it's not even right from that perspective. It's not even actually a good representation of what it's like to be on acid. What's the point of it then? Oh, I'm so sick of it. I think it's ugly, to be honest. I don't like the look of it.
I remember.
Can we couple tie-dye with this?
Yeah, probably, actually.
Yeah.
I'll accept that, yeah.
There's
So I think that deserves to be lumped in with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Lucy is a massive fan. Oh, I don't think she'll mind me saying this, and if I do, she'll punch. If I do, she'll punch me in the back of the head tomorrow. But
or now, hopefully.
but
once you're right, tomorrow morning I'm going to punch Lenny in the back of the head.
Lucy is like a massive fan. If you're ever in a new town and you might pass like a shop and it might be called something like Esoterica. Or,
okay, I know what you mean.
Oh, sure.
We've got one in Cheltenham called like it's got a leopard print.
I know.
Front.
Yeah, it's like it's a quirky looking shop. It would be called like
Shamalamala or something.
Yeah, Shamalamala or Bedevilarament. You know, like and you go inside and it's nothing but incense and tie dye and neon colors, and it's like. I've learned to accept that these shops are a part of my life now. Like we'll go in and just kind of have a look around and stuff, and I don't mind them. But I'm a bit like, I do feel like you're trying a bit hard, aren't you? Like
I feel like it's lazy creativity. I think anyone could sit down and go, what if a pair of lips turned into X, and they could just fill that blank in with like, what if a pair of lips turned into a boot? You know, and then but somehow that's okay as far as psychedelia goes, because anything weird or silly or stupid or random is just fine. And so it's like, well, there doesn't have to be any thought process then. There doesn't have to be any filter. It's just garbage. Ugh.
There must have been a point though where it was genuinely like
New.
Incredible. Like somebody looks at that and go, "My God."
Oh yeah.
I think there probably was, and I think we missed that because we were born in the 80s.
Of all the, it's funny how like I don't think it was the same. Well, it's probably the same for Chris Ray because we went to school together. But like for you, Nick, when you had like drug education, like growing up at school, quote unquote, it always it led through fear, basically.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Don't do X because you'll end up living under a bridge somewhere. Don't do. And with acid, it was always never do acid. Otherwise, in 30 years' time, when you're working in an office, you'll have a flashback, and you'll throw yourself out a window because you think you can fly.
It's really interesting you say that, because they actually reference that in the documentary. They say that the biggest, most communicated myth about acid is that when you take it, you might throw yourself out of a window. And a lot of them reference that exact anecdote, that they either saw that happen in a sort of public health announcement thing, or that was what they heard a mate had done, who took acid. They had jumped out of a window. There was this weird, somehow super successful like story about people jumping out of windows on acid, and I don't know how that happened. Maybe someone did. I don't know.
Maybe they did. I mean, oddly enough, the only story that springs to mind about falling out of a window is I think it was in Toronto. There was this really horrifying and kind of funny story about a bunch of students were being given a tour around some financial company who happened to be based on like the 58th floor of this massive skyscraper. Like a boring kind of real life job. But the guy giving the tour was showing them around this really high rise office, and he showed them like the floor to ceiling window.
Oh god!
And he banged on it, and he said, "Don't worry," he said, like hammering on it. He said, "This is so strong, it like a bullet wouldn't crack it." And he said, "Look, I'll show you." And he ran at it.
Oh my god!
Knocked the window out of its frame, and fell to his death.
Oh shit!
God!
Oh my...
Where did you hear this?
This is a real thing that happened. It's horrifying as it is.
Yeah.
But where was this?
I think it was in Toronto.
In Canada.
I think it was in Toronto.
Oh,
and when he hit the ground,
Jesus.
the plate glass was completely intact. He wasn't, but
yeah.
I think
Imagine
it was
that.
something like that. I think the glass was fine, but the frame around it hadn't been secured.
the glass walked away. That's
Jesus.
astonishing.
That's horrifying, John.
But at least he wasn't on acid, I guess, is the one thing we can...
That'll be the last thing I think about before I go to sleep.
You're welcome.
That's another curse for the episode.
Yeah.
That's 2 curses now. Great.
It's
A hex upon you.
It is, but I guess my point is, like, with all the fear of like teaching people about drugs, they just kind of scare you into never wanting to try it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
out of all
maybe.
of them, I think acid they scared me the most about acid, because they were
Yeah.
kind of like, it will ruin your
think-
brain.
I think that the myths around acid consisted of hallucinations and what you'll see and how scary and how if you have a bad trip, of which there is a percentage chance that you might, you almost could never recover psychologically from it. Something really, really interesting in the documentary that a lot of the celebrities interviewed mentioned is the one rule, or well, there are a few rules actually, but the primary rule of what not to do when you're on acid is to look in the mirror. Which really scared the shit out of me just hearing them say that, because basically when you
What would happen to you? Would you like turn inside out?
well, I think like that's what they kind of allude to, is this idea that like when we look at ourselves, we lie to ourselves a lot.
Oh no.
And we make a lot of psychological defenses have been built up over many years. And when we're on acid, because we're slightly hallucinating anyway, you see this horrible truth that may not even be actually even be the truth, but you suddenly see yourself in a way that maybe other people see yourself. And you, with that combined with the fact that you're off your mash on ecstasy pipes, means that like you really kind of lose your rag a little bit. So yeah, the big no-no is don't look in mirrors. Cover all the mirrors in your house if you're having an acid party.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I can imagine that's a bit like when you're super drunk, which kind of like when you're like university level drunk, which I thankfully haven't been in like 15 years.
University
Yeah.
level.
Yeah,
But
thank
it's
God.
that point where you get home and you know you're wasted, but there's still like this one little gem of soberness inside you, which is sober enough to know how bad you are.
That you're drunk. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and you think, okay, just lie down and sleep it off. And you lie down and the room is spinning.
Oh God, it's the worst.
And
That
I've always kind of,
is the worst.
that is horrendous when your brain is so busted that you're like, I kind of imagine looking in the mirror while on acid. It's a bit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, when they said that, I sort of immediately understood without understanding. I was like, yeah, that sounds horrible. Like, I have enough trouble looking in the mirror when I'm sober, so, like, fuck it.
I do like the idea that there's like there's rules. Like, you know, you just pulled up.
Yeah.
You're in your first kind of you got a bunch of good friends around you. You know, a lot of them have done it before. There's a few kind of bean bags. You're all getting comfy, and they're like, "All right, man. You know, your experience is going to be entirely
Yeah, that was- I think that
unique
was,
to you. You know, it's just going to be like a personal voyage of discovery. Just, you know, enjoy the colors. It's going to be wonderful. One tip: don't look in the mirror. And when the guy offers you an apple, do not accept it. Okay, off you
Whatever
go.
you do.
What?
Go, go.
Okay,
Whatever
enjoy.
you do, don't...
And then his like foot turns into a mouth or something.
Yeah, and then I'm out, and then I don't give a shit anymore.
And then he
It's like,
shits a flower.
fuck's sake. Shits out a flower in a submarine.
There's,
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, which is probably going to make this the worst anecdote ever. But there's that
Sweet.
one.
It's off to a bad start, to be honest.
Okay, bear with me. I'll see if I can pull it back. There's that one hallucinogenic drug, which I think comes from it's like a bit like peyote, a bit like it's
Oh, yeah.
comes from like a cactusy kind of plant,
Okay.
I think, and it's a massive hallucinogen. Like, it does insane things to you, but some people kind of consider that like the kind of trips you have while you're on it are like so spiritually transformative that like they say, like, if everybody did it just once, it would solve all the world's problems. That kind of thing. Like, we'd all just...
It's really... Yeah, no, it's really interesting you say that, because one of the first interviews in the doc is Sting.
Oh,
And he tells a really funny story, and he doesn't tell it in like this is really funny sort of way, but it is really funny. And basically, the first time he ever tried peyote, which apparently he's now like well into, by the way, like he loves it.
that's why that's why he's a sexual engine. That's why he can
Sexual
fuck for 12
furnace.
hours straight now.
Yeah, probably. So the first time ever, like his mate left him like a glob of it, or however you get it, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's just like, enjoy this, and then he fucked off, right? So Sting's just at home with a little glob of peyote, and he's like, oh, what should I do? So he went out for a walk in his vast grounds, as it were. And he was like, well, there's no one around. My wife's out for the day. There's no one here on my fucking farm. I'll just nom this right down. He just ate the whole lot.
Oh, you got to.
So he ate it. About half an hour later, he was like, yes, I'm starting to feel a little bit strange. And at that point, his like farmhand guy who lives on the land, but like in a separate house and like manages the land and everything is like, Sting, I need you. I need you to...
Sting!
Sting, come hither, I need you at once. And Sting's like, nah, mate, not now, though, because now's a bad time because of reasons that I can't disclose right to you at this minute, but no. And he's like, seriously, there's no one else around. I need your help right now. And Sting's like, all right, what is it? And he's like, I need you to help me birth a calf. So he had to go into a barn, getting gradually more and more fucked out of his mind, and help a farmer pull a calf out the back of a cow. And he said that was my first ever trip.
Is he sure this happened?
I mean, he could have pulled anything out of anything, couldn't he? I mean, I don't know.
And then he woke up and remembered he doesn't live on a farm.
Yeah, then he woke up.
What did I birth?
What did I birth?
What did I pull out of what?
I remember
chest of drawers.
There's a guy called Oliver Sacks. He wrote a book. He's a brain scientist, and he wrote a book on hallucinations. It's a really good book, and
cool.
He's taken a load of drugs in his life as well.
You got it.
And I remember him saying like he was house sitting for his parents, and I don't think it was acid or something, but he dropped something and felt like, and I remember he was saying like he took it and he thought, this isn't really doing anything. Like I'm not really getting anything out of this. And then he said like he looked at the carpet and the entire Battle of Hastings was playing out like in miniature on the carpet. And then he
still wasn't getting anything.
And then he kind of
still
blinked,
not getting it.
and it was 2 days later, and he had kind of like no idea what had happened.
God.
Brilliant.
And he said at one point, he heard a helicopter landing in the back garden, and he was so happy because his parents had flown in by helicopter to come and see him, and he ran out, and there was no helicopter, and he was utterly distraught.
Oh.
And then he said at one point he experienced indigo.
That's pretty cool.
He knew what indigo was, and then and then he lost it. He's never been able to find indigo again.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you said about that story about everyone taking it and solving all the world's problems, because that's almost word for word what Sting said about peyote, because he loves that shit. Like he's just taking a bite of it while they're interviewing him. That's not true. But he's
a bag a day man now.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I genuinely believe that if everyone had the experiences I've had, that we wouldn't have like most of the problems in the world. And you got to wonder. I don't know.
He could be right.
Certainly what we're doing at the minute isn't working. So let's try peyote, everyone.
I read like this kind of essay this guy wrote about how he went to quote unquote spiritual retreat somewhere in South America.
Yep.
It was like a week long, and the entire point was to take this drug, like a bit like peyote or a bit like whatever. And the idea was that a ton of people were there, and he said it was basically like you had like there were like bunk beds, there were kind of like rooms and stuff where between sessions you could sleep and everything, get a bit of food, but each session would be like kind of 12 hours long, or however long the trip took. He said, so you'd all come into like this big open room, and there was like a ton of mattresses just kind of like spread out. So you just find a mattress.
Wow.
And you've got a bucket as well.
Find a soiled mattress.
This does not sound like a glamorous thing to be doing.
But he said basically like every day they took the drug in various concentrations, and you had to kind of like drink it.
Oh my
He said
God.
so you'd all line up to get like a little kind of plastic cup with this thick kind of syrup in the bottom.
Yikes.
And he said you had to kind of like get it down you, and he said it was horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And then he said like you just went back to your mattress and waited for it to happen. and he said like
what a life.
What a world.
one of the consequences of the drug is that you almost immediately start shitting and vomiting. Like,
Oh my! So the mattresses are soiled then.
well, that's what the bucket's there for, Nick. You know, we're not
Right, so
animals.
you shit in a bucket next to your mate, who's also probably shitting in a bucket at the same time.
Oh yeah, no. Dignity is. It turns out when you've taken enough drugs, dignity and clothing are just a construct. They're just a lie we tell ourselves. And
That's probably true, to be honest.
he basically described it as lucidly as he could. But he basically said at the end of 5 days, like he'd had this complete kind of spiritual revelation, or maybe it was just like blood loss. I don't know, but
Yeah. The one thing, like all of these stories, sort of the linchpin of all of them is I can't put into words what happened to me. Really, like I can communicate about 5% of what happened, which is why all of this psychedelic imagery and everything is trying so hard to approximate it, because you can't.
yeah.
But like the one thing they all say is that, or not all of them actually, to be fair, but like a lot of them say is they have this spiritual awakening, and I've got to say that's a massive selling point for me, because I really want a spiritual awakening. Like I really want something like that, please. That would be lovely. Thanks.
I know, and it would be great, but again,
At
and
what
maybe,
cost?
maybe this is the conspiracy. Maybe like it turns out it's wonderful. Like it turns out it's amazing. But I have been so scared by those secondary school drug
Oh yeah,
talks.
God yeah, I'll never do it. I'll never.
But a
fucking do it.
spiritual awakening might just be to everybody else going loopy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It might be. It's probably not worth the risk, but
So which is right? Which is right?
This is one of the things I admire about you, Rev, because you are actually one of the most down to earth people I've ever met. And
Thank you.
like a
we
spiritual
need you at this time.
a spiritual revelation is, you're correct, one thing, but somebody also has to put the bins out.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And like we can't all
Well-
just be on a mattress shitting into a bucket.
Well, hang on. We have established that Chris will take the bins out because that's what he does.
It's one of my
So-
jobs, yeah.
So Chris can take the bins out. You and I can have a spiritual awakening, John. There we go. Done. Problem solved.
Okay.
Bring your own bucket.
As long as there's beer and I can have some beer, that's fine.
You can definitely have some beer, yeah.
Knowing my luck, the day I finally work up the courage to drop acid, I'm going to expect to sit on a hillside and wait for like this massive flaming lion's head to like rise above the horizon. But instead, I'm just going to like catch my reflection in like a bit of broken glass and just lose my mind. Don't look it in the eyes. Oh no!
Oh, God. Yeah. There we go.
Oh, drugs. God love them.
Ah, well, don't we have some
We have a very specific user, listener.
community hate?
Listener
we
hate
do have actually probably one of the most contentious, well, not contentious because everyone agreed, but probably one of the most incendiary
Yes.
hates we've ever had.
Yeah.
In
It set the a show called Hate Forums on fire.
We've had literally 3 posts about this.
Maybe less.
Maybe less, yeah.
maybe less. I don't know how the algorithm works nowadays.
I can't see all the answers.
But no, Imogen writes in and says, I hate
Oh,
pull tabs on food packaging that don't work. You go to open a packet of chicken, you pull the tab, and it just rips off the entire border around the packet without actually opening it.
Yes.
Horrible. Make it stop.
Yes, please,
It is annoying.
please make it stop. Yeah.
It's one of those things.
Because then you can't peel the rest of it off because you've got no tab.
No. And also,
problem.
there's like sometimes there's a tab on every corner, and it's almost like it's taunting you because it's like if one doesn't work, you've got 3 or more options. So I try them all, and they all don't work.
They just come off in like strips, and then the
Yeah.
whole thing doesn't come off, and then you have to get a knife out.
Yeah.
And by the time you've done all that, you might as well have just had it in a box.
You might as well have cooked it yourself or something. Like fucking
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah, I go straight to the knife nowadays.
As you do for everything.
You're sensible, John. You're saving time.
Seppuku.
Well, yeah, I mean, I also purchased a whetstone, so I have sharpened all the
Oh,
the
right, you're
kitchen
serious.
knives, and now it's no longer is it a burden; it is a joy to bring out a knife now.
In fact, all
There's
you have to
nothing
do,
more satisfying than a good sharp knife.
all you have to do now is bring your knife like near to it, and it runs away from the
Yeah.
knife because it's so sharp. So that's good.
We buy because we're creatures of habit. We buy this one bit of fish from Tesco's like every week, like a bassa fillet.
Yeah, we have a bassa every week as well.
I like it.
Lovely.
You can do a lot with a bassa. How do you have yours?
We fry it in soy sauce, ginger, and garlic with some chilies, and
Nice.
then have it with asparagus and rice. It's very good.
We make
I'm taking the bins out instead.
and chewing on a fish finger.
Yeah.
Cooked at
God,
210.
I love fish fingers though. Don't get me
Oh.
started on that.
Oh,
A fish finger is Gog's quiet grace. That's how I know.
A fish finger sandwich is the greatest shit for brains food you will ever eat.
That's how I know God loves us and wants us to be happy.
yeah. It's the only way we know. What else have we got?
Yeah. No.
Anyway,
but
you were saying you get a batter.
Yeah, and the wrapping.
Oh
on
God, it's
that,
the worst.
Yeah, it's horrendous. It's possibly not only does it not tear in a neat way, it's made of like, I don't know, like the stuff they coat.
Oh, is this the one that's like glued to the packet?
It's like vacuum
I know.
sealed in, but the problem is it's like the bottom tray is like fiberglass or something, and the top layer is like transparent aluminium, and the two are like bonded together on an atomic level. And then if you cut around the fish, it's still bonded somehow. Like there's no surface for them to be connected anymore, and yet I can't separate the aluminium from the fiberglass. It's insane.
And it kind of weirds me out because I'm like, what is it about the bassa that requires that level of security? Because I don't think any other fish is treated that way.
It's because it's still alive.
It's because it's dangerous.
Yeah, it must be.
If it gets hold
the
of your
only
knife,
explanation.
if it gets hold of your knife, John, you're gonna have to leave that house.
But it's like, is this the equivalent of like middle management? Like, has that cling wrap, has that film which will not tear, is that the equivalent of the manager who's promoted to the level where they can't go any further, but they can't get fired? They're just good enough. Apparently, like, they're just performing this one function absolutely fine. Because
So they just do that. Yeah.
Because who's the young go-getter kind of nipping at their heels, forcing them to do better? Clearly nobody.
Clearly.
Because that
Well,
cling wrap is still there and it's still bloody awful.
Yep. Can't wrap a fish in cardboard. That's what I've always said.
That's what your dad used to say to you.
That's what Dad used to say, and now I say to my nephew. You know, we're us angel lads. We always say that one thing: you can't wrap a fish in cardboard. Anyway, yeah, we agree with you, Imogen.
I agree with that.
It's actually hard to
Yeah.
disagree. Like,
really is.
we've
I tried.
unified the entire community behind this one statement.
That's a first.
That's got to be a first. Maybe we are doing something good here. I don't know. Probably
Yeah.
not. Probably not.
Morally neutral, I would say. Well, who's
You
got
got
a
love,
love
Chris?
then? Who can turn this around?
I've got a love.
Go on then.
Hit me.
Well, I will. I'm about 15 years late to the party.
Ooh, I like
But
this.
I have recently been watching the American version of The Office.
Ah, he's joined us.
And I'm bloody loving it.
Yeah, I'm glad
I'm
to hear
absolutely loving it. I think it's great. I thought I'll give it a chance because obviously I'm running out of things to watch that I haven't already watched. So I thought I'll give it a chance because it's on Amazon Prime and I've got that set up at the moment. And yeah, really, really enjoying it.
I think it's one of my favorite comedies of all time, if not my favorite comedy
Yeah.
of all time. And it literally just gets better and better and better. And there's like 9 seasons of it, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm on. What am I on now? I'm just into season 5.
Brilliant. You've got so much more to come. It's amazing.
So
How-
it improves as you go along as well.
Yeah.
because it becomes its own thing.
Really does.
Speaking of somebody who has only maybe seen bits here and there, how many seasons are there?
I think there are 9.
Is it 9? Yeah.
Do they solve The Office?
They solve the office.
Yeah, the office is solved.
And then
the
they
riddle
take flight to their home planet.
the
at
riddle of
end.
the office is put together and solved as the mystery. No, it does very much end in a very satisfying and concluding sort of way without spoiling anything. But
Well, I assumed it.
yeah,
would.
but it's a hell of a ride along the way for sure.
How would
Yeah.
you sell it to me?
Oh,
Okay. Hey, John.
Hey.
How are you? How
did you get in my house?
Don't worry about that. I've got in before, and I'll get in
you
again.
it was me. I have a lot of tools. Anyway, just ignore me for the rest of this hour, please.
Who said that?
Who said that? Who's here?
I'm under your sofa. Don't look.
Would you prefer to do taxidermy for the rest of your life, or watch The Office?
Sold.
There you go.
Done.
So
Will
have I sold
I-
it to you?
Will I be paid for my services as a taxidermist?
Almost definitely
no.
not. Again, ignore me. I'm under your
If
sofa.
anything, you would have to pay for the materials.
Yeah, there's a lot of work involved.
And your time is
money.
money as well. Don't forget.
can I eat the casks of the Office?
I wouldn't recommend it, but yes.
I mean, if you can find them, potentially. I don't know where they are.
No, I would sell it by saying it's got very funny elements to it. In fact, it's belly laughs all the way through each episode, I would say, for a lot of it. And if you haven't given it a chance, I would suggest you do. Because I was reluctant to, and I'm glad I have changed my mind.
I think I have that reluctance as well, if only because I hear it's really good, but I've heard it's really good from so many people.
I completely agree with you on this. Like, yeah, that's a real problem for me. If someone keeps telling me to watch something, I'm so much less likely to watch it.
I think you might watch the start of it and think, it's okay.
Shut up about The Last Dance. I actually want to watch that. If you say it more, I won't watch it. Just shut up about it. Stop it.
What are you watching tonight?
I was going to watch The Last Dance, but now I'm not.
You should watch The Last Dance. It's great.
I'm going to watch the US Office instead.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll watch that.
I always hear from people that apparently for them, watching the American Office is like, for them now, it's like their go-to default program.
Yeah.
Like if you're ever, those moments where like there's too much choice on Netflix or you cannot decide what you want to watch, just whack on.
I think there's a few shows like that, like these sort of shows that you can almost just start from the beginning, go right to the end, and then after the last episode, you could just go back to episode 1, and it can just be your ever-present background show that when you're not sure what to watch, you just put another one of those on. And I think the US Office is one of those. But and that's not necessarily a selling point because
it's background noise.
Yeah, that suggests it's just background noise. And I would say that, although it becomes that maybe with repeated like runs through, the first time through is one of the best comedy experiences ever.
I mean, the only thing I've ever watched properly is probably the scene that everyone's watched, which is the guy Kevin, as I now know his name is, spilling the chili everywhere.
Yeah,
which is brilliant, and that's the only bit. That's the only bit I've ever watched and become familiar with before the last couple of weeks.
Right. Cool.
But yeah, really enjoying it. So I would recommend it if you're reluctant to give it a chance. Get over yourself and just fucking do it.
Well, what I would say on that subject is like look out for Michael Schur because he's one of the writers and he also appears in The Office as well. And anything he touches just seems to, for me, just turn to comedy gold. He had a hand in The Good Place. In fact, he created that. He had a hand in Parks and Rec and 30 Rock. He had a hand in the new show that he's made with Steve Carell, which is Space Force. Yeah. And everything has that same quality of when you put it on, you're just going to have a great time. Watch his name. Just follow him around.
Well, you introduced me, Nick, to Parks and Rec and 30 Rock, and I think they're both brilliant. Well,
they are. It's exactly the same. US Office is literally the exact same style of humor in every single way.
There you go, John. I think Nick's just sold it to you, and I just said you had to do taxidermy, unless you do the other one. So I think between us, we got it covered there.
Maybe just about, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would have gone with the second pitch, not.
Oh.
Well, you say that. Both pitches were equally good. I would say.
Yeah,
equally convincing.
They both had aspects to them.
They both embodied something which the other one did not.
Both had similar levels of passion and expertise.
This is all great feedback. Like I'm writing all this down.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Well, I've got a love.
Oh.
Yeah, go on.
Butter. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Nick, what's your love?
Well,
go on, John. Oh, go on, I'll bite. Oh, John.
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked.
That's very interesting. What do you love about butter? Jesus.
Well,
what do you love about butter that I don't already love about butter?
This is painful, isn't it? Oh,
no. Okay. I'm just saying. Bear with me, right? Okay.
Okay. I mean, we will for a bit.
Growing up,
with butter,
my family was always a margarine kind of family.
Okay.
Like we always had flour.
Golly, John, that's so interesting. Please carry on.
Oh, I will. Okay, so now I like a plain food.
Yeah,
you do love it.
You know that like if I've got the option between caviar and dry toast.
This is why I'm surprised about butter, to be honest.
Well, here's the thing. So like I would always have like if I'm eating toast, I'd have like bit of marge, bit of flora. Other brands are
Right.
available, but a bit of flora,
Okay.
and I'd have like some jam on top. Like that was always the.
That sounds
the-
like
the
too much
magic.
flavour, if anything.
That's the
That's
thing,
a
the
lot-
magic combination. Bit of
There's
sugar,
a lot going on there. To be
bit of fat, loving it. Over time, when I felt the jam was maybe a bit extravagant,
Oh, it is definitely.
Yeah,
I'd rein it in, and
That's massively extravagant.
and
Now,
I
I've seen
discovered,
you eat jam straight from the jar with a teaspoon, though. Just saying.
yeah, that's why I don't keep it in the house anymore because I can't control
You
myself
can't control
around
yourself.
jam.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fine.
But I was like, okay, all that sugar, John, you've not been working hard enough. You don't deserve that sweet treat. just have some flora on your bread, some flora on your toast. And it's wonderful.
Okay. Dial it back. Yeah.
Yeah, dial it back. So we got a butter dish. We got like a thing you
Oh.
keep butter on with a little lid.
Yeah, but it's
And-
a butter dish. Yeah.
Yeah, a butter dish. Thank you. Yeah, no, I know you're an uncouth fellow.
I know what
Chris Ray. I'm
a
trying to-
butter dish is.
I don't own a butter dish.
Okay, so
Just saying.
one day I felt like, John, you've been working very hard this morning. You're feeling a little peckish. Why don't you toast that bagel up? I was like, you know what, I will. Thank you, John. So I sliced that bagel and I put it in the toaster and I gave it a light browning, and I took it out and I thought to myself, what am I going to put on that bagel? And I was going to
what?
smear some flora on it.
As is the usual.
And then I thought to myself, no, John, you pay the mortgage, part of it. You're paying a mortgage. You're working hard. Why don't you put some butter on that bagel? And I did. And I smeared a bit of butter on. I took a little bite and I was like, ooh, that's nice.
I see what
And I
everyone's talking about.
And then I thought, oh, I think it needs a little extra. So I got a little salt grinder off the shelf and I gave it
So
just
you're
a
just
little.
going to say, put some more butter on it.
I put like a little spritz of salt on top of that butter.
Oh, that's bold.
Oh, hot, salty, buttery bread. It's amazing. And also, in lockdown, I've upped my cooking game. So-
Okay.
and this is where I'm going to round off my TED talk on butter. But it turns out, like, you're like, how can I be a good cook? How can I take my cooking to a whole new level?
Butter.
Butter.
Yeah.
Turns out the answer is butter. It turns out if you throw a shit ton of butter into anything,
Yeah.
it
I
will
think
just taste
the,
amazing.
yeah.
I think the French learned this quite a while ago. But I do agree with it, certainly, that butter makes good. Butter make...
Butter make good things nice.
Butter make good.
Butter make good, though.
Butter make good.
Can I... butter, please. Sir, thanks.
One butter, please.
Well, yeah, but this is my thing. It's like I've really upped my pasta making.
Yeah, you got a bit of butter. You run a bit of butter through pasta. Delicious.
What, have you made your own pasta?
No.
No.
No point.
No.
No point. The shop
But-
bought it would be cheaper, easier, and better. So don't bother.
And it's not homemade. So.
But I can now make a great pasta sauce where I'm like, okay, chopped up my tomatoes, get them simmering for a good while, get those sugars developing. Gonna slice up a bit of chorizo, bit of chorizo.
Coricho.
Throwing a bit of chorizo, getting
Coricho.
a bit of chorizo.
Chorizo.
Get a bit of coricho on there.
Get some of that sausage from the other world.
What's that red sausage called with the bits in it?
Get some pepperami on it.
Okay, bit of pepperoni,
Yeah.
bit of chorizo. Slice up some mushrooms. Get that frying. A little bit of oil. Get it started.
Fuck mushrooms.
You're throwing some,
I mean, fuck my. Oh, I said it again.
and I'm like, what you've got there is a mediocre collection of fried veg and a bit of salami, a
Some
bit of
ingredients
chorizo.
that are hot now.
You throw a dab of butter in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's going to take it to a whole new level. New level. And if you take a scoop of your pasta water, that starchy pasta water, and you throw it in, you've got the makings of a fine tomato sauce right there. So it turns out we've been lied to all these years. You don't need to go to culinary school. You don't need to know what you're doing. If you throw a shit ton of butter on everything, it will taste amazing.
Yeah.
That's my
fact.
top tip.
Cool. I mean, I think I did know that already, but I
Yeah,
definitely
I feel like I heard that somewhere.
definitely do agree with you. Definitely agree with you.
Isn't butter now supposed to be better for you than margarine as well?
They're always flip-flopping on that, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't
Nobody
know.
knows.
Nobody will ever know. Science
We'll find out in a few
Science
years.
can't
I'm sure.
answer that.
I can imagine that if you're rubbing it into your paws or your eyelids, and
Yeah.
like I wouldn't want to eat it for every meal.
Not every meal. The only thing I hate about butter, right? And let me get on my butter box about this.
Get on your high cow.
Is that like it's always either solid and unusable or a puddle of liquid.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why we invented Marge, I believe.
What?
I can't be doing with hard butter.
My dad used to like microwave the butter to make it usable, and like the probability of him getting it right to the point that it was soft and spreadable was like 1%. The rest of the time he would just have like a bowl of liquid butter, which we would dip our crumpets in.
I do remember when I lived in Canada, we once accidentally left a pot of margarine out on the side, and it was so hot that it turned to golden liquid. Like I don't know what
What
as
is
you say,
it?
like, when is margarine
ambrosia?
meant to melt?
I don't think it's supposed to
At what
ever
temperature?
melt.
I don't think it'd be particularly high, would it?
I mean, it's a bit more resistant than butter. It didn't recover, basically, is what I'm
Did
saying.
it not?
here.
Oh,
No,
that's kind of
Couldn't bring its shape back.
terrifying. But yeah, I agree. Butter's great.
thank you. Yeah, butter's amazing.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
eat some
with you.
butter.
I'm with you.
But yeah, everyone. Hey, that could be a takeaway. Just go eat more butter.
Here was me worried that was going to be boring.
I don't know if that was sarcastic or not. I really don't know.
Neither do I.
So if
Well,
you're listening to this podcast and you haven't decided what you're going to eat tonight, maybe consider.
Make it butter.
Maybe have a nice knob of butter.
Just have a knob of butter on a knife.
I will just say,
Yeah.
just to wrap up, I remember once seeing in the early days of the internet one of those eating challenges, which
Oh no,
you don't really get quite as much anymore. But they were doing like
butter.
the butter eating competition, like how much like just raw butter could you?
Surely there's a point, and that point isn't far from zero, where you throw up just naturally, just
Yeah.
automatically throw up.
So they all.
See, right now I feel like I could do a lot, but I think in actual practice, I probably.
I think I
wouldn't do
could
very well.
eat one spoonful of butter, and then my body would be like, no more.
But it is weird though, isn't it? Because I bet overall, if you had a bagel and you you added up all the butter you smeared across the entire thing, it probably is like a teaspoon. But if someone just gave you a teaspoon of butter,
It's like mayonnaise.
Oh, I would eat that.
It's like mayonnaise. I fucking love mayonnaise. I'll put mayonnaise on my sandwiches. I'll dip my chips in it. I'll probably get through a tablespoon of mayonnaise per meal that I have mayonnaise with. But if someone gave me a tablespoon of mayonnaise and just said, "Chunder down, my friend," I'd be like, "You go to hell, sir."
oh no, it's rough, isn't it?
I could not eat a spoon of mayonnaise.
I've only recently got into mayonnaise.
Really, like the US office.
Like I'm talking this year.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I never liked mayonnaise before.
It's
like
one of the
it now.
best. It's
You
great.
got to get onto.
Lockdown really has changed me.
It really has, isn't it?
I drive. I like mayonnaise.
You watch
What
the
else?
US office.
You've got to get
Yeah, I
onto
watched the US Office.
sriracha next.
Yeah,
I got sriracha. We got sriracha in the fridge.
Sriracha and mayo together is possibly like the greatest thing in the world.
Okay,
Ooh, chef's kiss.
I'll merge them then. I'll
chef's
merge
kiss.
them.
Chef's kiss. Ooh.
The only thing I'll say about the butter eating competition is they were all struggling to eat like a stick of butter, and then they got out a ton of sugar, and they dunked the butter in the sugar,
Oh my god.
and then took a bite, and they were all instantly like, "Hot damn,
This is great.
this is incredible!" Like the moment you add sugar to it, yeah, it bypasses your human brain. Like suddenly you're in cheesecake territory.
Well, apparently the human body is like set up for accepting a mix of sugar and fat. If you can, and that's why we love ice cream so much, because that's literally all that is.
Yeah.
If you can give the body purest sugar and fat possible, we will just go crazy for it. So that does make sense, I guess.
Yeah, because it's
Isn't it amazing that the thought process is, oh, this butter's too bad for me. I know.
I'll dip it in
Dip
sugar.
it in sugar.
well, it's like because it's like as Nick said, like in nature, it's really kind of rare to get any kind of food which is both really high in fat and really high in sugar.
Yeah.
It's generally like one or the other. So if you ever say like, "Oh, I want something really sweet," I've just got like a craving for something sweet. If someone said, "Well, here's a bowl of sugar, go hog wild," you'd be like, "Nah, don't really fancy that." But if somebody said like, "Well, here's a cookie, here's a biscuit, here's a cake," which are pretty much like 50-50 sugar and fat, that's what you want. What you really want is that magic combination, which Just doesn't
I
exist
really
in
want
nature.
some cake now.
Yeah, I'd love a cake right now. I'd destroy a cake.
Well, do you want to take us home then, Nick, with your love?
Yeah, well, my love's quite simple, really. I love it when someone accidentally emails you with an email that wasn't for you, but was for someone else, and talks about you in it.
What happened?
I had a client email another person in the chain who was not me, talking about my design work and
Oh no!
and how it was not, let's just say, very good in their opinion.
Oh shit!
Like normally, I'm quite fragile when it comes to my own personal work and people saying negative things about it. Luckily, the one thing that like working as a designer has taught me is that I've sort of separated my brain. I've got like Illustrator Nick and I've got Designer Nick, and Designer Nick is a hell of a lot tougher on what he makes than Illustrator Nick is, because I've had to deal with a lot of shit from people who have no idea what they're talking about. And luckily, I know for a fact that this guy got completely the wrong end of the stick. Like he did not know what he was talking about, and I knew I was right, and it didn't affect me negatively in any way at all. But it was very, very funny, and I took a huge amount of pleasure in replying immediately to the email.
Brilliant. I don't think this was meant for me.
What did you do? How did you play it?
So basically, he accused me of copy and pasting. That sometimes
really?
all I do is copy and paste. What the reason he'd accused me of that is because I was following brand guidelines. So I was essentially using brand elements of his brand and building a new object in a series of objects that had come before. So obviously it looked very similar to those that had come before it, because it had to be it had to be part of that family, and B, it had to follow the brand. So I was reusing a lot of elements, but I did do, it was an easy design job because I had a formula to follow for it. But I was definitely designing something, building something, and 100% following his brief. So I just replied and basically said that. I said, I hope you understand that I never copy and paste, and that I always do the utmost amount of work, and that I hope you understand that I'm not a lazy shithead designer. I mean, I didn't use the swears, but that's essentially what I said. And it took him like a full 24 hours to reply to that.
I bet he's mortified.
Yeah. It brought me a lot of weird sort of pleasure, actually.
Did you get an apology of sorts?
I did. His reply came in the form of, because it was on a Friday, he replied at 5:29 on Friday, and it was like, I will email you. No, I will call you on Monday about the email I sent, and that was it. That was all the email said.
Oh right.
And I was like, great. So he's buying a weekend to think about what he's going to say to me on Monday. And true to his word, though, he did call and he did apologise, and he was very very meek, shall we say. But
we had some
funny.
training at work about like good email, like data protection and practice, like to kind of stop that sort of thing happening. And another big one was like sharing an email, or kind of like forwarding an email that there was nothing bad in the email, but it had like a whole
thread.
email chain, and if you just scroll down, you'd get like a load of like really dodgy stuff in there.
Yeah. It's like, Karen, cancel my Pornhub subscription. Oh, and also
renew my Pornhub subscription. I remember an experience where I was working on it would have been like an anthology or something years ago. I didn't end up being involved with it, but I do remember the guy who was reviewing my story responded to me, and he'd left the email thread in below.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And
nightmare.
like and I don't know, he hadn't said anything negative, but like if you just read the discussion, it was like him and this other guy in the company kind of like talking about the story, and he's going like, what do you think of this? And the other guy's going like, I don't know, it's all a bit of a faff, isn't it? About my story. God. And I was like, oh, you know what? I was like, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah, maybe I don't need this.
I'm done.
Yeah. I think it's not always a pleasurable experience. I'm sure plenty of people have had like a bad time with it, where they've said something really quite horrible. But I guess I was lucky in the sense that I felt incredibly justified in what I'd done and knew that I'd done the right thing. And at which point it became highly humorous to me.
We have so many people at my workplace who don't seem to understand the difference between reply and reply all.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Like, that's like a minor bugbear of mine. I don't think it's worthy of like a full hate, but when it's like somebody high up kind of messages a bunch of people because that's their job, and then one person responds to everyone and just says like, yes, I think that's very good. You know, it's like, why? How have you got to this point in your life without understanding how these things work?
Yeah. Emails.
Oh, 21st century problems. What's it all about?
Well, here we are.
Here we are at the end of this
are.
this little journey.
It's been lovely. I've had a nice time.
Yes, I've had a acceptable time.
It's been moderate.
It's been at least better than 50%, maybe.
Yeah, it's been all right.
It sort of.
So, on that note, gentlemen, what do we think won this evening? Is it love or hate?
Well, Butter really had me conflicted, but I think I'm going to go for hate.
That's unlike you. What do you think, John?
I do really like Butter.
Yes.
And I want to bring some positivity into the world. So I'm going to be contrarian and say love.
Decider.
Well, I'm going to say hate because
Yes.
Imogen added to the mix and gave one more point to that side. And we
go.
can all agree with that one. So I've got to say hate tips it for me.
I'm okay. I can live with that because I think a lot of our hates finally took down some institutions that needed it.
Yeah, they need to be knocked down a peg.
Take
Hollywood.
that, institutions.
Pirates, psychedelia.
Yeah, smash them.
Fuck a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well,
Tell your friends what you saw.
This has been a delight.
Wonderful.
What a treat! What a treat this has been.
Yeah.
Is there
okay.
anything we want to? Is there anything we want to say before we go our separate ways tonight?
Just a promise that we'll watch Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and we'll tell you.
That's
you.
good. That's good enough for now.
That's a guarantee. That's a show called Hate guarantee. Take that to the grave, suckers.
We will watch Sonic the Hedgehog 2, whether on Netflix or in a plague chamber, whatever it is they call cinemas in the future. Yeah. How do we end an episode? How do we sign off?
Oh, the same as always, I would have said.
Yeah.
Which is in the way that Nick is about to tell us.
It's just my trumpet solo normally, isn't it? Just the
Trumpet solo.
Oh no, we're losing reception.